It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hello, everybody. How we doing? What's happening? It is showtime. Yes, it is time for the Geno Jones Daily Variety Show. We here Monday through. What do you do? You do something here. This is live TV. There we go. Sometimes you just gotta get things right. Monday through Friday, right here live on my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching tonight. If you're watching live this afternoon or wherever you are, or if you're binge watching, if you're going back and watching the recording, then thanks for checking out the show. So yes, one of my regular contributors to the show, Miss Kelia Karson, she'll be joining me. We'll have a very interesting conversation. Talk about it. Story of teachers who thought it was okay to tell kids to write a letter to their family or ancestors, or and it should say maybe their family, and back in Africa, and tell them, how do you like being a slave? Yeah, we'll talk about that. Kelia has a very interesting take, so you don't want to miss that. So right now, first, oh, by the way, before I go any further, the Geno Jones Show, sponsored by my good friends at Lockwood Outdoor Advertising. They have the 3 C's, converting cars to cash. I am all about supporting black businesses, and you should be too, because if we don't support black businesses, nobody else will. And in this era of the racial reckoning, and you hear so many companies and people saying, well, you know what, I want to do my part. I want to be an ally. How can I help? How can I make change? How can I make things better? Well, you can start by supporting black. You can start by being, I guess I should say, anti-racist. You know, not be against racism. You have to be an anti-racist, and you can support black businesses. So, Lockwood Outdoor Advertising is the only black-owned outdoor digital advertising company in the state of South Carolina. So, shout out to Rodney Lockwood and Raquel Paget, doing really big things. Check them out. www.outdoor, that's Lockwood Outdoor, www.lockwoodoutdoor.com, lockwoodoutdoor.com. So let's get it rolling here. I got some good news. Let's talk about one of my favorite entertainers of all time, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. Janet Jackson has a 2-part documentary coming. It's in the works. As a matter of fact, it's coming to the Lifetime and A&E networks in early 2022. So we gotta wait just a little while. Now, Janet has been working on this documentary for 3 years. All right, so it's gonna be a really 2 nights, really a 4-part documentary. Am I right? Yeah, I just wanna make sure I got that fact right for you. Yeah, so we got we have a 4-part documentary, really a 4-hour. That's what it is. So it's a 4-hour, 2-part. So I don't know what night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever. 2-night, 4-hour documentary. You don't want to miss it. Now, 1982. So a lot of people think that Control was Janet's first album. No. With my Dikembe Mutombo, no. Bam. Swat that out of there. Janet, her first album, it's called Janet Jackson, actually. That was the title. And it came out in 1982. Well, 40 years later, in 2022, Janet's 4-hour documentary celebrating Janet's impact and legacy on music, on our culture, on a global culture, because Janet is a global icon musically, and in so many ways. So now this is promised to be a very intimate, honest access to her life. The untold story, all right? The one that, you didn't get this one on the tabloids or whatever, or your favorite gossip show or columnist. No, this is gonna be the untold Janet Jackson story in her own words, on camera. She's gonna talk, yes, she's going there. She's gonna talk about the, remember the 2004 Super Bowl appearance when Justin Timberlake just really punked out in the punk move. I'm still mad at him. Now I know this year, a couple months ago, he apologized with that lame, sorry ass apology. Dude, you a little late. You like, what, how many years? That was 2004? You like 17 years too late. But anyway, I digress. So she's going to talk about this Super Bowl appearance in 2004 and how it made her feel, and how people just really came for her career and all that. She's also going to talk about, you're going to see actually Janet's reaction to the loss of her iconic brother, the true GOAT, the greatest of all time, Michael Jackson. Also her reaction to the loss of her dad, Joe Jackson. Michael passed in 2009, and her dad, Joe Jackson, passed in 2018. So early 2022. You do not want to miss it. The documentary is titled Janet Jackson. Man, I do not want to miss that. So let's talk about, let me tell you a story. Actually, two stories, and then we're going to bring on Kelia Karson. So I don't know if you heard or not, there's a school in some little small town, Purvis, Mississippi. Or as they say, Purvis, Mississippi. And the teacher asked these 8th grade students to pretend like you are a slave working on a Mississippi plantation and write a letter to your family back in Africa describing your life. Tell us how you really feel. Is it wonderful? Do you get 3 square meals? Do you get 3 hots in a cot? Oh no, that's I think when you're in prison. Now, ironically, I think about a month before this, did you hear? There was a group of middle schoolers. Actually, there was a group of middle school teachers in Madison, Wisconsin, the capital of Wisconsin. Now, they've been placed on leave after they gave 6th graders an assignment asking them how would they punish a slave. Now, this was a 6th grade social studies class. So I'm feeling some kind of way, but I want to bring a little context to the story. So full disclosure, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, coming to the show, yes, one of the regular contributors to the Geno Jones Show, a woman of many talents, my family, Miss Kelia Karson coming to the show. Miss Kelia Karson, there you are, live and in Technicolor.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Geno.
How you doing here? All right, listen, well, first of all,
I got my black lipstick on for you today.
That means it's about to go down, y'all. It is about to go down. All right, so I'm gonna fall back. First of all, if there's anything, what's your reaction to hearing the Janet Jackson story before we really get into it about this situation with the school teachers?
So, black in honor of Janet too, in that famous black outfit with the black hair.
Yeah, that was
pleasure principle, black, all that, because she was just in a black phase.
Yeah, that was Rhythm Nation 1814.
Rhythm Nation.
Yeah,
and the pleasure principle, little black jeans she had on, but she did the chair thing. So I got my black on for many reasons today.
Okay.
But yeah, okay, so. Geno, you and I, I'm excited that they're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Janet Jackson album, because that was the name of it, as you mentioned, with the never #1 hits on that album.
Wow. Shots fired.
If you love me, say you do. It was produced very much in the Jackson, and I think Joe was still, producing her or over her career, managing her at that time.
So it sounded like it, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's definitely Jackson 5-ish. But I'm happy that fans will get to celebrate her.
Yeah, no doubt.
In such a way, because she is an icon. There is no modern day way. There's no comparison to Janet. When she came out, she was a triple threat. And I know people will say, well, Janet's not that great of a singer. Oh, Janet, but she's a all-around performer. J-Lo and Janet to me fit in the same pocket in that it's their ability to do all of those things and keep an audience engaged that makes them so magnificent.
Well, Key, let me
Because
jump in. I'm sorry.
nobody gets a show like Janet.
Right. So I'm glad you went there. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
But I want to jump in right here because I think this is an important point to kind of extrapolate this thing out.
Please do.
You wouldn't really have Beyonce. Because to
Right.
me,
Or
Beyonce
J-Lo.
is, speak it now. Janet
Right.
is the natural progression as a performer, complete performer.
That's why I said you can't compare her to anything.
Right, because listen, people still say the same thing. Like Beyonce, she ain't Mahalia Jackson or Whitney Houston or Aretha.
Right.
Bobby Brown wasn't Luther, but Bobby is a hell of a performer.
Exactly.
Right.
So Janet, yeah, I'm with you. There is that's why I struggle. I can't compare anything to her. And the full range of talent that she brings when she hits the stage. So I am so happy for the fans, including myself, that we'll get to see this. However, I have no hopes of a grand expose. I don't think you're gonna, because listen, this is about, and we got to find out if the Randy Jackson that's producing is our Randy Jackson, i.e. the producer of music, i.e. Mariah Carey and on, and American Idol, or is it Randy Jackson, her brother?
Well, okay, you can, I did a little research now, you can triple check.
Okay.
But to my knowledge, this is her brother, because her and Randy,
Okay.
they're the babies of the family.
Right.
And
right.
I'd heard that they have always been very close.
Okay.
Still very close.
I mean, I don't know. So we're putting that out there that we're not quite sure just yet which Jackson.
Yeah. I'm pretty
Randy,
confident. I'm pretty from what I read that it's Randy, because they do have as adults, they have probably been the closest out of all the brothers with
siblings.
her.
Okay.
Especially since Michael passed.
So I'll trust you on that. But so if that is the case, we're really not getting an expose.
Well, let me ask you, Keith. Let me ask you something. You get to produce. Kelia Karson, executive producer. Let me hear, what would it look like? What would this 2-night, 4-hour documentary, just go wherever you want to go there. What would be in this what would be in the documentary that you don't think is going to be in it?
James DeBarge, and for real, what the relationship between that family, because they were very close. The DeBarges were living in LA at the time. The DeBarges from Michigan, Grand Rapids to be specific. But I want to know what really happened in that breakup, and was there a baby? I want to know about Joe. For real.
All right, let's go back to the
DeBarges.
Yeah, because I know I have even somewhat recent. When I say recent, within the last couple of years, when more and more stories have leaked out about that whole marriage that was annulled with Joe, that Joe didn't want with James DeBarge. Right. I had heard, or I've read and heard that there potentially could have been some domestic violence issues.
Yes,
you heard the same thing.
Heard about that.
You heard the same thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Possibility that he was violent, and James was on drugs. So it is not impossible or out of the realm of possibility that he may have been violent with her. So I want to know that story. I want to know about their religious situation with being Jehovah's Witnesses, the mother very active, even Joe at one point. I don't know if he stayed.
Joe a lot less than Catherine. Joe a whole lot less.
The mother, Rebe, who basically kissed the industry goodbye because she was so close to her religion. I want to know about the religion. I want to know where she is with it. Was she a Jehovah's Witness? How did that gel with her life, and has she had any struggles, and where is she now? Because for those who don't understand, Jehovah Witnesses, they're still Christian.
It's a form of Christianity, correct?
Right.
Yes.
So it's not like it's some other thing out there for Christians. But I'd like for her to talk about that.
And to be honest, Key, because I know personally, just in my family, loosely, I'm using that term loosely. In my extended family, I have members who practice. I have members who actively practice. I have those who would still identify as witnesses. Who just, and they're no different than Baptists.
Right.
You got some folks who claim, yeah, I'm a Christian, and
slip slide.
As a matter of fact, when they say the word Christian, you should run because lightning might. And then you got some folks that's Bible study on Wednesday, Sunday school, church all day, all night, the whole deal.
Yeah, so you got the apostolic,
yes,
which then gives you the Kojic, and so you got all kind of different levels of commitment to whatever the doctrines,
right.
Or I shouldn't say doctrines. The doctrine is the Bible, but to how
different categories of Christianity
they are to different.
It's like subcategories within.
Yes. So I want Janet to talk about that. I want her to talk about. I think when one exposes themselves as in control, and then all of a sudden people are like, "Oh, she freaky. She wasn't like that. She been turned out." I said, "No. You were always that."
Right.
And I want to talk to Janet about that. Dispel this myth that you just became a freak. Can we just talk about the fact that you became a woman and said, "Oh, this is who I really am"? That other thing that they were creating was about Joe and the family image and all of that stuff, what the family was comfortable with.
Funny. Let me jump in. It's funny you say that because I've seen her in different interviews and conversations speak to the issue that you're just talking about. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, remember the song "That's the Way Love Is"?
Yep. Or the Goes.
Yeah.
That's the way love goes.
That's the way. I'm sorry. That's the way love goes. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way love goes. That one. Yeah. And I remember the video, and then there was a song "Anytime, Any Place." I think was all on the same album. And if you listen to the lyrics of "Anytime," really, if you go back to "Funny How Time Flies" from Control with Jam and Lewis, Janet's got some really, really sexy, steamy ballads. But when "That's the Way Love Goes" came out, because I think she had like this was like the mid-90s, I think she had like the little navel ring, and she had like the little halter top, and she was just doing
hanging out with all her friends.
I think they was talking about, some dude in the whole 9 yards, and people asked about this. And now the conversation. Was
J-Lo in that video?
Yes, she was.
That's right.
I was going to say, yes, J-Lo was in that. And the conversation that I remember Janet saying was that basically that, hey, I'm at a point in my career, in my life, to where I feel free to be me and embrace all of me.
Yes.
I'm grown.
See, I want her to talk about that.
I'm a grown-ass woman.
Okay, Geno, because that's where I'm going with this. Let's just, come on now, Janet. Because I get so sick of people, "Oh my goodness, Janet was so sweet, and then she became no, she just grew up."
Right. Now, you know what? I would like to, it's funny, you didn't mention this now. You may, producer, you may want to see this part in the documentary, but I'm just going to offer a suggestion, executive producer. I would like for you to go back to when she was Little Penny on Good Times. Because if we're gonna tell
if I were producing,
if we're gonna tell her story,
I'll go get. So just let me tell you how that's gonna go. With stuff like Penny and Fame, because she was on Fame, the television series, not the movie.
Right.
As Coco. That stuff I'm going to I'm gonna mention and spend a little time with Penny and Good Times, and go to the iconic scene with the iron and chip fields and all that stuff, right? But that, trust and believe, in the 4 hours, that's gonna be 5 minutes, 5, 6 minutes. I'm not spending that much time on that section of Janet's life.
Well, she wasn't on the show that long, but for me,
Right, and it wasn't. I mean, once you get past the iron and JJ, her love for JJ, what else is there to talk about? And she starred as another side character on Different Strokes as Willis's girlfriend, Charlene. Right. I'm going to hit that 10 minutes.
Well, let me say this, though, Key.
Move on.
Her role as Little Penny is iconic.
It is.
Fame, because a lot of people probably are watching right now like, oh, she was on Fame, and then you mentioned she was, who's a little girlfriend?
Willis's girlfriend,
right.
Charlene, on Different Strokes.
And actually, I forgot that, and I'm a huge Janet fan. Mm-hmm. But we knew people who are true, I'm talking about true, back to Gary, Indiana, Janet fans, because for me, if we're going to tell the story, we need to tell the full arc of the story. Right. We knew Janet as Little Penny as an actress before we knew Janet as an artist, and the music icon that she became.
A singing.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yes.
Because an actress is an artist. She was just a different kind.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but yes, we knew her. We didn't know as Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation, and Control with the black jeans.
No, it didn't exist yet.
Right. My point, we knew her first. She came into our life as Little Penny. So as an actress. But I guarantee you,
Geno, if you do the stopwatch the night next year when it comes on, you're gonna get 15 minutes maybe of that part of her.
No, that makes sense, because that arc was not very long, but it's still, I think it's important because we talk about how complete she was as an entertainer. So I think that's really important. I'd like to know how did those skills transfer?
I think it played well because in order to do the shows that she does, Janet, when she performs in her videos, that's one thing. When you see her in concert, she takes on a character for her songs, right? So, for instance, in Velvet Rope, there's a song, tie me up, tie me down, all the way. And she does the pole and, dancing on the chair and all that, right? She, as an actress, she understands how to get into that character. And you don't have to be an Oscar award-winning actress, but she knows enough to sell it.
Yeah.
And that's how the acting, I believe, influences the singing and the performance.
So that's why I'd love to ask her about that. I'd love to hear her tell her own story. And I'd like to find out really, which one did she really love the most? Because we don't know. She might have loved acting more than singing, but maybe she just felt because of the influences of who her family was musically and her dad. But it's funny that she didn't start off singing. And as a matter of fact, I'd like to find out what Joe and Catherine how did they feel about her doing music? Well, now let me say this, Key, and you probably heard some of the same things. Now, from the reports that I've gotten, that Joe and Catherine were not really super, they supported her, but if she would have chose a different lifestyle, like Rebe she said, I want to focus on being a wife and a mom.
A mother and going to the Kingdom Hall.
Because if you think about it, Control, and you can go back and watch the conversation that I had with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, because we talk about that a lot. Mm-hmm. And I asked them about that. And they just talked about how that whole album they walked around probably, I'm just going to throw out, I don't know the exact timeline, but a couple weeks, maybe a month. It's, just over some time that they were just hanging out with Janet, just hanging out.
Getting to know her.
Before they went in the studio.
That's how you write a good or produce a good piece of anything,
They were like
you would
therapists,
over-
Key. They said they were like therapists. And
Yeah.
so Janet was just, and she had a lot because, now think about it. She was real young. I think Janet was probably
20?
right 20. I was going to say that, right. And there was a lot in terms of her own identity and still, her parents' influence, and she was trying to establish her own identity and all that. That's the title, Control. If you listen to the opening, the very introduction to the Control album, go back and listen to it.
Right.
She tells you.
This is about control of my life, what I want.
And I got lots of
it. Yeah, she had a lot to say.
Yeah.
And but so I think that the acting will be a part, and it would be a part of mine. It just wouldn't be a long, lengthy part, but the acting is what sets Janet up, because Janet, even when she was performing with her siblings, her job wasn't really to sing. It was to, be the little cute Mae West, and that was all acting.
Yeah, you're right.
She was the cute little girl who said the funny things. You remember Big Boy coming,
She did the Mae West impersonation, yes.
Right.
And did a good job, yeah.
Right. So it's definitely influenced her career. So that would definitely be a part of my documentary. But then those ugly things, this marriage that took place.
Now, which one?
I
the
mean
second
the third one, because the first one was James. The next one was the Elizondo.
Renee Elizondo.
Right.
Was a dancer.
And then this other cat.
The Muslim dude, the last one.
Right.
The billionaire. Yeah.
I want to know about that. What was that about, Janet? And, and then I want to know, talk about this difficulty that so many women find themselves in when they have the control, they have power of themselves, yet they can't quite figure out this love. What is that?
She should have stuck with Q-Tip.
Or
not Jermaine Dupri. No.
Well, I was going. You got to mention Jermaine Dupri, because that was getting ready to be my next one. Because I want to know about this husband, because something seems strange there, deep, because she hadn't said nothing about that. But the Jermaine Dupri thing, they were really friends. I mean, good friends.
They were actually friends first. Yeah, they were actually friends.
And let's talk about that, and how come that couldn't work? And
her and Q-Tip, from all my sources, that they would
love Q-Tip.
They were for a time they were sweet on each other. He was really crazy about her, and supposedly, from all my sources in the industry, said that was a real thing. Her and Q-Tip was a real thing.
I only heard rumor, but I never knew if it. But let me tell you, when he jams with her on,
now
on it seems to go, that Joni Mitchell one.
Right. You talking about Q-Tip?
Yes. Yeah. When he raps with her. Listen, I'm a girl, and I love Q-Tip. I am blushing.
I see.
Because whatever happens between them when they get to performing that together, oh my God. I'm like, if you didn't, girl, you should have.
That's my key. I love her, boy. She gonna keep it 1,000. She gonna tell it like it is. Straight, no chaser. I love it.
Yes. So that would be my documentary. Okay. And then, of course, I want to know about the family, Michael, things that they're going to cover. But I just don't have much faith, Geno, that they're going to cover it in the way that really satisfies these questions that we're talking about. I think it's going to be about the 40th anniversary and celebrating her. So Celebration is a different documentary than one that, I don't want to call it an expose, but one that kind of digs deeper into who you really are.
Okay, so I got a key, and then we can
Okay.
go. Let's go into our feature story, I guess, for lack of a better choice of words. So you feel this is going to be more Motown 25 than the Oprah
Yes.
sit down?
Absolutely.
See, you want the Oprah sit down. That's the journalist in
Well,
you.
and quite honestly, Oprah, at least her interview with Michael, is not a good indication because that interview with Michael that Oprah did was nothing. It wasn't really.
So you want the Carol Simpson, or in modern days times, you want the Savannah Guthrie, to where you want to say,
Yes.
listen, Savannah, I done told you, don't ask me that same damn question 3 times.
Right.
Almost that's just because she will now. I know that's being an aggressive. See, you're a journalist, you understand that. You
Right.
have to be aggressive. But to some people, aggressive is being, okay, B, listen, now how many times? I'm not going to say what you want me to say. I'm telling you what I'm going to tell you. And if you ask me this again, it's going to be some furniture moving up in here.
So let me say this, Geno. I wouldn't want it to be, Piers,
Piers Brott,
yeah, that guy from England.
Piers Morgan. That was
Piers
on CNN,
Morgan.
Piers Morgan.
I don't want it to be that.
Yeah, because he
But
was. Oh, God.
I wish.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he just asked you all kind of,
I was surprised he didn't get hit in the face.
hurt. Exactly. And I wouldn't want it to be that because she deserves respect.
Yeah.
But I wish that it would be an interview where she came to a point in her life where she wanted to say it.
Well,
So not so much somebody pulling it out of her, but I don't think Janet is in a place right now still where she wants to go there.
Well, okay, Miss Executive Producer and a journalist, you understand this, that your best journalists or quote unquote interviewers, see, it's not about, see, like on this show, like you and I, we're having a conversation. So the key is whoever the producer is that's asking questions off camera or allowing her to tell her story, if you can create a climate and an environment to make her feel comfortable enough to where you don't have to ask the question. You can just go in that direction, or you can just create an environment to where she'll just volunteer and be like, because she feels comfortable. Do you follow? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and that works in theory. 4 hours, you gotta want a 4-hour, 2-part document. No, you have to want to say, listen, there's some things I want to get out there and just say it and be done and move on with my life.
Well, let's hold out hope.
And, yeah, so we'll see. And I want to know about the baby. The one she actually has now.
Yes. With her
So
last
that's
husband.
that's Keila's document.
Her son.
Right.
That's good, Key. Somebody, Janet, if you now, somebody send this. I want Janet to see this show and reach out to us, and I'll put you in touch with Kelia. Bring her on as a. Now, the producers now may be in their feelings because you got Lifetime and A&E,
But now they're not producing; they're just airing.
Yeah, they're just airing.
Janet
That's true.
and Randy are producing.
That's true.
It's a very controlled environment.
Yeah, no pun intended. All right. All right, Keith, so let's get into this story here before we get out of here. So this is school, and now, full disclosure, first, everybody, in case you don't know, and of course you wouldn't know unless Keila's family's watching, along with being, like I said, she's a very versatile talent, TV, radio personality. She is also an educator. She is, as a matter of fact, she taught in college. So she brings a unique perspective. Full disclosure, we kind of did like our pre-show meeting. Really, we could have just aired that one because it was interesting. So you had a school in Mississippi, Purvis, Mississippi, and the teacher asked 8th grade students to pretend like you are a slave working on a Mississippi plantation and write a letter to your family back in Africa describing your life. Now, before that, about a month before that, somewhere around there was a group of middle school teachers in Madison, Wisconsin, who are on leave after they gave sixth graders an assignment asking them how would they punish a slave. This was a social studies class. So I want to get your take, Key. Just, and we initially heard the story, but the fact that you are an educator, so you are in a position where you can look at this from both sides of this coin.
Yeah. So as Geno mentioned, I am a media professional that then in tandem taught media. In addition to being on the air, I would teach media. And I developed curriculum for all kinds of programs for learning. So here we go. The first thing we have to do as people, but especially African Americans, is on Saturday Night Live, simmer down now. Simmer down now. We're so bruised and battered with things like this happening that when something like this happens, we go boom. And we don't take the time to find out all the details. So yes, on the surface, write a letter as a slave, to your people back in Africa and tell them about your daily task. And I think describe your family,
your life,
your owner, and all that stuff, and how you spend your time. Which, for a slave, the 5 minutes that you got to yourself, singing Negro spirituals, it's how you spend your time. It looks insensitive on paper, but as an instructor, I want to say that it is very difficult to develop curriculum. Curriculum meaning the format for what you will learn, how you will learn what you need to know in your classroom. Okay.
And what you're going to teach, right? So I guess
but more specifically, curriculum is about how to teach.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Right. How to teach Geno how to be on the radio. That's the curriculum. How do I go about that? So if my intent is to help students understand what it's like to be a slave, what kind of exercise might I come up with, Geno?
All right, well, let me stop you. Let me ask you this. So why, I guess, because the first thing that popped in my head.
I'm glad you're thinking.
Yeah.
Because this is what we need. We need to make these teachable moments instead of preachable moments.
Okay, so this is what was in my head when I paused, because I wanted to play it in my head again.
Yes.
Why would I want to have you write a letter to talk about your life as a slave, something so traumatic?
Because maybe as an instructor, I am trying to teach or get to the point of sensitivity. I want you to connect with it's the same reason why women watch Lifetime. Some of those movies, they see the woman, she goes through a difficult relationship, maybe there's abuse. Why are you playing this movie? You want her and the audience to connect to the story, to the character, to the incident. So when you want students to connect with something, you give them assignments that places them in that situation.
Okay, let me jump in.
It's okay when we say, pretend you're Dr. King, or pretend you're, Nancy Pelosi, and you're a great woman. Or when we have little girls dressed up like Kamala, and their pearls and their chucks. This is essentially, from a curriculum standpoint, the same thing. Now, I'm not saying that they maybe should have flushed out the wording differently, because as an instructor, I went through that. I had a moment in class where I was trying to explain to students how, when in Rome, do as the Romans, right? And I said, just like in America, we're taught that we get up every day, bathe and put on deodorant and smell good. And that's how we go out, we clean ourselves. I said, but when you're in Europe and you're a woman or a man, or you don't have to shave your armpits. Now you have on Instagram, Halle Berry with her arm up and it's a bunch of hair under her arm. Boy, they're going to drag her, right?
Right. Especially in America.
Right. In America.
Right.
But in Europe, nobody would even care because they don't.
That's true. In Europe,
shave like
deodorant, they don't know.
Right.
Body odor it's almost got the reverse.
It's a
almost
pheromone.
Like, yes, I was just about to say that.
I explained that to I said pheromone actually it masks what you want. You want actually for a woman to smell your manly, your sweat and all that. That has been proven to turn us on, right? And so when we shave and do all this, we take away some of that pheromone. Well, one of the students in my class was like, she went to the president of the school, because I teach adults, I don't teach children. She went to the president of the school and said, oh, I'm from European descent, and I was so offended. Keela called us funky and all. And I was like, no, I didn't say those words. I just said.
She took it that way.
Right.
But here's what's interesting though, Key.
So Geno, just let me flush this out, and then
okay.
In 2 seconds.
Okay.
My intent, and I just told you the same story. My intent was not to hurt her or Europeans. My intent was to teach when in Rome, you do as Romans do, and you're judged like that, and you're okay.
Well,
but
okay.
It came out as racist.
Okay, now, I see where you're going, but let me just ask you this in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, now we're dealing with an adult. So we're not dealing with 6th graders or 8th graders. Because the fact that she didn't even, for whatever reason, didn't initially have the conversation with you. And so this is because I'm putting all this together. Because let's just deal with what you said on a factual basis. On a factual basis, European cultures, France, a lot of European countries, people do not deodorant. People don't wear deodorant. That's part of the culture. That's not you're not saying you're funky. As a matter of fact, they look at us. We come. You go to Paris or you go.
Well, her interpretation of pheromones was funky.
And the fact that she didn't, because I think it would have been an interesting conversation to have with you, because we're talking about an adult, not children, not middle schoolers. So that's, and I don't want to get lost in the weeds there.
Well, I'm just saying that I just wanted to give you an example of how my intent to teach a lesson about when in Rome, do as the Romans. Because I was explaining to them, when you're in the workplace, sometimes you have to adapt.
Right, which is true.
And in Rome,
that's true.
You adapt. And so then I went and we adapt. In America, we adapt to this way of cleaning ourselves. In Europe, they adapt to. So that was, in her mind, that was racist. So all I am saying to the public is when things like this happen, we have to go to our instructors and find out first, are you empirically a racist? Or was this just an attempt at trying to get the student to understand something that was either misunderstood, poorly written, poorly, designed? Because we have a whole lot of poorly designed curriculum. Because we can talk about math all day and how, including myself, can't do it. What happened with that curriculum? So there's poor curriculum floating around everywhere. So this was just maybe poorly written or poorly explained or what have you. But the intention may not have been to hurt. It may have been to help. And that's where we have to be careful, because we may start looking at things like this and then whipping our um, fellow Caucasian friends and family and brothers and sisters. And then they're like, look, okay, well, I tried. I can't, because y'all won't even give me a chance. You won't help me. You won't teach me. You won't say, instead of firing you, let's let's get together and let's make this better. Maybe let's not assign any more things like this until we have some person come in to help us put together curriculum or lessons that are less offensive. And then also to some of the parents, I would say, shut up.
Well, hold on.
Sometimes people are trying, and instead of you calling the school and saying fire her, find out, or him, find out what the intent was.
Okay, that's fine. Let me jump in. So now I'm gonna play. I'm gonna give you the flip side. I'm gonna push back. I'm gonna give you the pin, because I'm not an educator like that.
And don't send Geno no darn Candace Owens, Van Jones messages, because that's not where we're at.
No. Go ahead. I don't care what. Listen.
Yeah.
People can say what they want to say, but listen. So here's my pushback as a parent.
Okay.
I will grant you, in theory, it's possible that maybe these teachers, even though I've seen, these stories are not the exception. They're the norm.
There are plenty of them out there.
They've been the norm over decades actually. So, but I'm just gonna go down your rabbit hole. Okay, the teacher meant good. Maybe she was trying to teach, because I don't know what the racial makeup was, which is important.
Right. We don't know how many black children versus other children were in that class.
But if it's just one black child,
yes,
then to me, as far as I'm concerned, as a teacher, the onus and the responsibility, and some level, I know common sense ain't common, but listen, to whom much is given, much is required. And we carry responsibility. As parents, we carry more responsibility than our kids. Teachers carry more responsibility than students. Principals carry more than teachers. Police officers should carry more responsibility than an average citizen, because you are given the state and people, the taxpayers, give you this incredible amount of power and leeway to literally take someone's life and be given the benefit of the doubt, when if you and I took somebody's life, we wouldn't get the benefit of the doubt. So I'm saying that there's certain positions you got to realize that, you know what, I'm held to a higher standard. I gotta hold myself to a higher standard. So if you got one black kid in this class, while you're developing this curriculum, shouldn't something kick in and say, wait a minute, why would I traumatize? How could this teacher or these teachers not know that asking a black child to write a letter talking about what it's like to work on a plantation and write a letter back to your family in Africa, how could they not see that would be traumatizing to a black child?
That wouldn't have traumatized me at all. If the lesson was about what did black people have to do as slaves every day on the plantation? Oh, they had to pick cotton. Oh, they had to pick tobacco. Oh, they had to cook in the main kitchen and serve the master and his wife and his children. Oh, sometimes they got whipped because they did things that the master didn't like. So then I turn that into assignment. And I say, write to your family in Africa and describe, because what I'm doing as an instructor is I'm trying to reinforce. So what did we discuss happen to these individuals who were slaves? So put yourself in that position, and I want you to tell that story so that I know you understand how cruelly or whatever these people were treated. So you're looking, you have to put yourself in the instruction mind.
Okay.
I'm trying to tell you something that I want you to know, and I want you to repeat it back to me so that I know you know what I've told you.
Okay, but listen, in nowhere did I see to where, first of all, these are 8th graders. So you would think by the time they got to 8th grade, I would hope that they have learned a lot about the atrocities and the horror of slavery.
Right. The Mississippi
Right.
children were
Right.
8th grade.
And then I just got to put everything on the table, Key. We're talking about Mississippi, okay? I mean, the history of racism and white supremacy still to this second this is a state that just took that Confederate battle flag off their state flag. So Mississippi has a notorious history of racism and whites in Mississippi and America, but Mississippi's got a horrible legacy of viewing black people and looking at this world through the prism of white supremacy and white nationalism and a sense of black people being inferior on every level. So,
but explain to me what that means.
So it's because pretend like you are a slave. So that means to me that's assuming. Okay, I'm a child, Key. I'm in 8th grade. You a teacher. You tell me to pretend like you are a slave working on a Mississippi plantation. Even in 8th grade, I guarantee you, and my mother's watching. You can, at the end of this show, you can call her and she will tell you. If a teacher would have asked me that, it would have been. I guarantee you, my mother would have had to come up because I would have been incensed. And I would sense of, respecting the teacher.
I get where you're going.
I would have challenged this teacher. Like, wait a minute. In 8th grade? Oh no. I would have been like, well,
yeah, but I get where you're going. But then we tell the 8th grade class to do the play of Roots on stage and play a slave. So you have to. I think people are far more sensitive and won't allow for people of different races to be educated properly on how to teach the matters of slavery. And as long as we're going to be sensitive and jump and get ready to fire all the instructors that are trying maybe to do something, because you don't know how education works. So the principal or the school board says, oh my God, we got to do racial diversity right now, tomorrow. We need curriculum by Monday morning. And it's like, what? And so teachers are scrambling, trying to find assignments because they got to prove to the community that they have some diversity. And within 1 week, they've added all these assignments. Well, this is what you get.
So, okay.
This is what you get when you don't hire people like me to come in and say, whoa, let's slow down.
I agree.
And let's think about, and that's why representation matters and why you have to have people on the highest levels, not just in the classroom, but the highest levels to say, wait, we need to review this. This is not going to, people are going to feel sensitive about this, blah, 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 blah. And so we can't just blame the teachers because there are lots of things that happen sometimes before it hits the child that the teacher is not in full control of. And also, when you're not Black, sometimes you don't understand what's wrong with the way this is written.
But in 2021, you got it. Listen, I know what you're going to say, Key.
What am I going to say, Geno?
I know. But you got to know. You got to know this. In 2021, in this era of racial reckoning, everything that we've seen and all the conversations and, the white allies on TV and white folks crying and like, I don't want to be racist. I really don't. So what can I do? And blah, blah, blah. But at some point, Black folks is like, wait a minute. You a grown-ass person? And I got to tell you how not to be racist? Because at the root of racism is fear, ignorance, and a lack of seeing the humanity in another person.
Right, but when are you going to give the opportunity for people to learn that? So you can't say...
Well, damn it, you in a class.
Geno, if I've been white all my life, and I've been a part of, unwittingly in some cases, of this system that we call systemic racism, which, by the way, we have to clearly understand. Systemic racism doesn't necessarily look like racism on the surface. So you have a lot of Caucasians who have been a part of that system, not knowing that they were complicit, that they were, in some way doing what maybe they didn't know they were doing. And so now you ask those very same people to understand how they're supposed to understand, Geno. These people do not live, and I shouldn't say these people. Caucasians do not live our life. They only can glean from a conversation that they've had or something they heard on TV, right. Or if they have Black people that they are close with, they can get information that way. But they don't know everything to say and how to say it to Black people.
I want to bring Jane Elliott on. I'm going to reach out to Jane Elliott. Now, for those who don't know Jane Elliott was an educator, is a researcher, a white woman. Jane Elliott has got to be in her early 80s. And back in the 60s, she wanted to kind of teach her kids and teach them basically to make them more empathetic and to teach them when you discriminate against anyone based on whatever the prejudice is. She wanted to put them in the shoes and allow them to kind of feel the way that Black people felt. So she did this experiment, blue eye, brown eye experiment.
That was the first, right?
She separated the class between students with brown eyes, and basically the students with brown eyes, didn't matter what color they were, they got treated like white folks in America, and the students with blue eyes got treated the way America treats Black folks. And she talked about that, and she talked about she regretted she regretted doing it years. Because it was amazing how quickly these students who were so entitled and came in with these privileged attitudes, all of a sudden their self-esteem had affected their grades, and students who had low self-esteem and who were looked at in a negative way, all of a sudden they felt confident, their grades went up. So here's my thing in closing, Key. Here's my take, and I think you've established it, but I'll let you kind of give your closing remark. I am sorry, I hear what you're saying, that we have to allow, white people to learn, but damn it, Key, it's 2021, and you can't be an educator and not know. I cannot stand in front of a classroom and have Jewish students in my class and not be sensitive. If I'm going to talk about the Holocaust, I've got to make sure that I'm doing it in a very sensitive way, understanding that I've got Jewish students. Now, they may not be that traumatized or upset, but they might. And it's on me as a teacher to do no harm. So if you are a white teacher, even if you just got one Black student, it is because, see, white America, Jane Elliott talks about this. This is a white woman. That because America has lied, not just to Black folks, America has lied to white people. Our history, the whole story of America is a lie. Christopher Columbus discovering America is a lie. Christopher Columbus got lost and landed, found himself here in this land that they called America, but you have indigenous native people who lived here. Key, I can't get lost and get drunk and show up at your doorstep and like it and move in and kick you out and kill or murder and throw out you and your family and be like, oh, shit, we discovered this house. That's nice, isn't it? No, you can't do that. So all I am saying is that, and this really could apply to any race, but we're talking about these situations because there are too many schools, not just the teachers, in terms of curriculum. We talk about these culturally biased tests, like the ACT, SAT tests. That's a whole different conversation. So at what point are we have got to reverse engineer this lie and this brainwash to get to the point that we want to get. I've got to see the humanity. And if I'm talking about slavery, and if I got even one black kid. And heck, you could be offending some of these white kids that may have a more progressive, open-minded upbringing and be like, wait a minute, we in 8th grade? And I'm writing a letter talking about, what is it? Because that's like a no-brainer. What does it feel like? I'm working on a plane. How you think I feel? I'm mad as hell. I'm working 16 hours in this heat. I can't. It's illegal for me to read. You're selling me off to my family.
What it is. But see, this is how we sensationalize. It didn't say, how do you feel?
Describe your life.
What did you do?
It said, describe your life.
So if the lesson is, I want you to understand things that slaves did, then what assignment do I assign my students? I have to assign them something
in 8th grade
that makes them describe. Geno,
if you haven't learned that in 8th grade,
it doesn't matter. If my superintendent said, I need diverse lessons about slavery in the class tomorrow, get on it. So all I'm saying is that we have to pump the brakes and stop getting all rah-rahed up and go and help our educators, because we're not going to do anything yakking about it.
How about getting some new ones, Key? What about that? How about getting some new ones that are more culturally competent? And if the ones that's in the system, if they are willing to acknowledge their blind spot and their bias.
Let's just go get all new Caucasians that are culturally sensitive and take all the rest out of America. I mean, that's not going to happen. So you have to deal with reality. And the reality is, because we don't want to be replaced just because we don't understand something. We want to be able to have an opportunity to learn it, to know it. So let me
say this though.
You have to give people a chance. And I don't know how people expect that Black people, only after 100 and something years, have adapted to the repercussions of slavery. And yet we haven't. Just like white people cannot be expected to immediately know all the ways to handle our trauma. So that is the real conversation that people have to start having, and stop jumping up and down with emotions, and calm down, and let's get to some therapy, and then let's get to some psychology, and let's write some curriculum that then and teach Caucasians and other races how to teach our story.
Well, let me say two things. First of all, we need to get more Black teachers in these classrooms. Now that's a different conversation.
That is true too. I mean, that's all a part of the pie. That's all a part of the pie.
So,
we need equality, but let me assure you that there are Black teachers that would have written the same assignment.
Well, they'd have got this smoke too. They'd have got this same heat. As a matter of fact, they would have. For me,
but my point is not whether or not they would have got smoked. My point is that learning to write curriculum has nothing to do with Black or white. Curriculum is tricky, whether you're Black or white.
But there's certain nuances still with this.
Yeah, but
if you are like, and I hate to be repetitive, I'm just using the example that I use, Key. If I'm a teacher and if I got even just one Jewish child in my classroom, and I'm talking about
I had one European.
Right. I'm talking about the Holocaust. So it is
right.
It is on me. But see, if we're gonna be really honest, I mean, America, the public education system, has a history of bias. You know that better than I do.
Right. So we need to get about fixing it and stop screaming about it.
Well, sometimes, you know what? A squeaky wheel gets the oil. And something to get it changed, you've got to scream about it, because it's almost like...
you have to scream about it, but you don't have to punish teachers who may be trying but have done it improperly. Because that's different.
Yeah, well, at the same time, you got to take ownership, and you got to want to learn.
You do.
And we don't know these teachers, so I can't say that they don't. But all I'm saying, Key, is that this crap happens too much, and it ain't accidental. And I can't believe it. All these teachers are so culturally clueless.
Judging. You're saying it's not accidental. What do you mean? Do you know her? Do you know if it was an accident? It was an accident in my case.
Okay, it was an accident in your case, but all of them. Okay,
Geno, it is so nice to get angry and fired up, but you solve no problem.
Well, I got solutions. One, get some more black teachers in there.
Yeah, but black
not just
teachers
teachers,
don't-
superintendents, like you said, in positions of power, principals.
Black teachers still have to write curriculum.
Yes.
And black teachers, they don't, that doesn't mean just because they're black, they will know how. You have black teachers today in classrooms who call kids stupid.
Then they need to
so
go
I'm
too.
saying that just hiring black teachers is not the only thing at issue here. We have to hire black teachers. We have to hire people who understand curriculum. We have to hire people who understand diversity training. So it's a number of things that have to take place in order for it to then be what it should be.
Teachers that are culturally competent.
Right. But this quick fix and then punishing, and let's just throw out any teacher who comes up with something wonky for a classroom assignment, take them and fire them. That's not right.
Well, you're an
That's
educator.
not right. We gotta stop being so reactionary. Just like I don't want some black kid who just has a joint in his hand to go to jail for 90 years. And so we had to fix that problem. I don't want a white teacher who teaches a lesson like this and may have made a mistake to be fired before she's had an opportunity or he to be taught the right way.
Okay, so last point here. Okay, so because you've given the teacher the benefit of the doubt, which I respect. That's why I brought you on.
I have to, because I don't have anything else that says
well, hold on.
that he was a racist.
Well, let me say this though. Hold on. Let's be honest. Now I'm putting all the cards on the damn table.
Okay.
Because we don't now, and that's who you are as a person. And it's kind of who I am. But I just, at this point in my life, just my tolerance just for people pleading dumb, they don't know.
So then, Geno, I would have to bench you because you would be too emotional. I need to get stuff done.
Right.
I don't want emotion. I want
stuff done too, but I'm not going to tolerate because this goes two ways. So this is what I was going to ask you, because you're being very fair and you're giving this person the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. I'm not giving this person the benefit of the doubt, because what if this wasn't the best case scenario? The scenario that you played out. It's possible, but it's also possible that this was.
Do you mean
inherent,
what if this teacher was racist?
Yes, inherent bias and ideology. We're talking about Mississippi, so everybody in Mississippi, you can get mad if you want to. Every white person in Mississippi is not racist. Absolutely. No, I worked in Memphis.
Geno, we gotta stop. We gotta stop this. Inherent is different than, okay, I'm this racist. I hate Negroes, or I hate blah blah, or women, or whatever it is.
I think that slavery wasn't like some people. Well, slavery wasn't that bad, and they had a place to live, and they got fed. So really, slavery wasn't. You got a lot of these southern states, Texas. They wanted to change the curriculum to say, well, you're making white people out to be a victim, and slavery wasn't that bad. Gee, the slaves were happy. They got to, they were not to talk about. In most cases, families were separated. So the kids didn't get to stay with the mothers and the fathers. They were sold off. The whole families were sold off. So, we don't talk about that.
Okay, so Geno.
So just answer this question for me, and I'll shut up and let you go.
Yeah, because I'm a journalist at heart, and so.
What if these teachers didn't have the best intentions? Or what if they were looking at this through a prism of white supremacy and racism and bigotry? Just what if? Then what would your response be?
So based on the question that I'm reading as a curriculum developer, this is not what a racist would write. A racist would have came harder than this.
Okay.
What I am reading as a curriculum developer is, they're trying to get you to repeat something that they've discussed in class. And they just went about it a poor way. Yeah. That's what I'm seeing on this paper.
Yeah, find another way.
I'm not seeing, because a racist baby would have came at you all the way different.
Well, maybe they were smart racists and were like, well, damn, I don't want to lose my job and get written up. So let me go ahead and try to write this.
That could be. I don't know. And I'm not going to read into that. Your question to me was, Keela, what do you, and so I don't put my feelings into what I'm just looking at. Okay, this is common for this is common for that. So I don't know what the teacher was, but I know that overall, we can't punish people if we don't know what the intent was. And we can't punish people, especially if they were trying to do good and just made a mistake, because then we're going to be into a bigger problem.
Well, but that transitional phrase, that if is a big, because that if is a big question mark. Because what's behind that if is we really don't know. But what we do have, I mean, there's data to back up that, that white teachers look at black students in inferior ways. So this is not my opinion. You can find the data's out there. Teachers feel that black students cannot perform to the academic level that white students in their classes. I mean, and I know you know this, Key. I know you.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that point, but there's also evidence that our black teachers treat our light-skinned students differently than our darker skin.
Yeah, and that's another conversation. And
I don't want to get into all of this back. We ain't going around the clock with that, because I can pull out a whole lot of statistics about ourselves against ourselves.
Oh yeah, and so
if we're gonna fix the problem, let's fix it with everybody.
Yeah, I'm with you.
For everybody.
But those who hold the most power, those who have done the most damage, those who still are in a position to it's one thing. See, because I've explained to people about racism, I can have a prejudice, and I can maybe not like you because of your skin color, but I can't write legislation. I can't use the law. I can't lowball your home appraisal, Key, for $500,000 less than it should be just because you're black. I can't do that. I can't redline where you pay 3 times as much for home insurance than a white person that would be living in that exact same house. Mm-hmm. I can't fix that. So, a lot of times, people, and there's a lot of
that you vote for people that will write legislation.
There you go.
To protect. Right. So, i.e.,
so I'm just saying, in society, those who, like I said, to whom much is given, much is required. And when you are in a position of power and influence, you have to be very judicious and responsible. And if you use that power for evil, I'm calling your ass out. Now, you can choose to use it for good or for evil. But I thank you, Key. I love.
You're welcome.
For full disclosure, Key and I, we had these conversations. Like I said, she was on with me in the mornings when I was in Detroit. So this is just like being back together again. But there was being an educator, and I knew Key's position. So we knew for some folks watching it would be controversial. So we want you to go and have this conversation and debate. And if you got any white friends that are teachers, just tell them, listen, if you got some 6th grade or 8th grade students, don't tell them to write a letter to describe what it's like to your life as a slave, because these kids know, especially if they're black kids, it was pretty messed up. As a matter of fact, teacher, it's still kind of messed up now. Now, if you are doing that with white students, if you're trying to, like you said, Key, try to generate a sense of compassion and humanity or empathy or expanded level to where they can see themselves as white students as these children who were slaves. And if that can evoke compassion, empathy, humanity, tolerance, then, but you did a piss poor way. If that was the goal, you should be fired just for ass backwards, just curriculum that was just done all wrong. Call Key, and she can show you how to write it, to put that curriculum together the right way.
Well, there are a lot of poli-sci professors and therapists that would argue you down. That's like the abuser, the abused. They tell you, write a letter to your little self. So what you just said is curriculum wise and as a matter of therapy, it's not true. People ask you all the time to put yourself in the position of the pain.
Well, let me go to my therapist to do that. But I don't
Yes.
want to. I don't want to.
Well,
Listen,
but I'm just saying,
if,
Geno. So
if my daughter's in 6th grade or 8th grade, I'm paying you. My taxpayers' money is going for you to teach. If my daughter needs a therapy, I'll pay a professional therapist to be a therapist.
All I'm doing is saying, be careful that we're not, because that kind of assignment is done all the time. This is not new. What this
No,
teacher
it's not.
did,
Yeah,
the
unfortunately.
approach is, or people found fault with it. But if you replace that with something else, a slave with something else, that assignment is not new.
With knowing
As a matter of fact, the assignment for the other place, Wisconsin, was based on what the slaves in Mesopotamia,
right.
and had nothing really to do with it. So anyway, bye, Geno.
All right, Key. Because I know Key. So I'm sure Key, you would have a different curriculum. You would definitely have a different curriculum.
I mean, yeah, but I also told the European and offended her about the armpits. So we can all talk a good game until we're the ones on the hot seat. And my bosses were nice enough not to fire me. And now I am a Hall of Fame instructor for that same institution, because they didn't fire me, but they could have fired me that day.
Yeah. But I would argue they know the Keela I know. They know your heart.
Hey.
They know your compassion, empathy, and humanity that you have for all that you displayed right here. You made my point for me tonight. You are the embodiment of compassion and empathy, which in our clothes,
Right.
we
And
as
so maybe
we as
we
black
should
folks,
get to know
yeah.
the hearts of the teachers before we condemn them as well.
We wish the oppressors would have the heart that the oppressed have. And that's a whole nother conversation. Because the oppressors in America have never seemed to have the heart of the oppressors. And that's a whole different show.
Right, that's a whole different show. But yeah, I'm here, like I said, a Hall of Fame instructor for that institution, because they heard me. They said, okay, Keela, we get it. And so I'm hoping that people are investigating these instances individually to find out what was the intent, and taking it from that point, versus just immediately saying, they deserve to be fired or what have you.
And you owned it.
And then make it a teachable lesson for everybody.
Right. And you owned the key. You didn't make an excuse for it. You owned it. Even though, like you said,
I did.
That wasn't my intention. I owned it. I'd stand in it. And I atone and apologize. And that says everything. Because some people don't do it. They double and triple down.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
I didn't double, triple. I said it. And this is what it was. So
you didn't tell it, well, get over it. You're just too sensitive. You didn't go that route. See?
No, I never. My students they will always tell you that if they come to me and say, "Oh, Miss Karson, you made me feel bad." I said, "I did. I made you feel bad." Well, tell me, what did I do? Oh, I'm sorry. We sit down and we talk about it, because I need for you to get an education. I don't need for you to be worried about being mad at me or being mad about coming to class. I need your brain so that I can feel it and get you on with your life.
But Key, I knew you before they knew you. I know you just being who you are. And that's why you're in the Hall of Fame. Thank you, Kelia Karson.
You're welcome, Geno.
We'll talk to you soon. That is my people right there. And I knew what kind of conversation we were going to have, because we did our pre-show meeting. And because she is an educator, and Kelia really is, what you see is what you get. She is just an extremely compassionate, empathetic person with a great sense of humanity. She sees the humanity in any and everybody. And that's one of the things that you when you know her, you love about her. There's many things to know and love about her, but that's one. But unfortunately, people and instructors and teachers and administrators and principals and school superintendents and politicians and senators and presidents and police chiefs and mayors, that display of compassion and humanity and being able to see yourself in other people, that ain't common. And you all know it. I don't need to tell you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. It needs to be. Hopefully this show can be a teachable lesson. All right? For all you all to storm the Capitol, you need to watch this. Now, it's not giving you a pass. You don't get a pass. You have to own it, and you have to atone, and you have to want to learn and do better. But you just can't plead ignorance like, well, man, I didn't know better. Well, damn it, you should have known better. Been in America for how long? America's been around for how long? 3 centuries? Black folks have been here for 2 years now? I digress. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. God bless each and every one of you. Once again, the Geno Jones Show, brought to you by Lockwood Outdoor Advertising, converting cars into cash. If you want to get some more information, you want to go ahead and put your business up in lights, your product, your goods, your services. Digital outdoor advertising. Black owned, by the way. The first and only black owned outdoor advertising company, digital advertising company in the state of South Carolina. So maybe you got a business where people can shop online, or maybe this is the market that you want to reach. It's LockwoodOutdoor.com, www.LockwoodOutdoor.com. Shout out to Markel Bailey, the official hairstylist and barber for the Geno Jones Show. Kel, Kelbecuttin, Kelby Cuttin on Instagram. The official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show, Bruce Gage. Check him out on Instagram, Bruce Gage, Gage. Also, Flyball the store. He is one of the few officially licensed vendors to carry Negro Baseball League gear. Really nice looking jackets and sweaters and dresses for the ladies and masks and more. Flyballthestore.com. I love you. I really do. Each and every one of you. I love you so much. Mother, you know I love you. Once again, thank you to Kelia Karson, my contributor. I always look forward to when she is going to come on the show. We always have some fun, funny, and some really, we bring the heat. But thank goodness that she was able to bring a very unique perspective, not just as a media personality, but as an educator related to these stories. All right, everybody. Tomorrow, Friday, it'll be the weekend review edition of the Geno Jones Show, live right here on my YouTube channel, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 in Chicago, 3:30 out in Los Angeles, the cities of angels, Los Angeles. Until tomorrow, 6:30. Go back and binge watch. In between now and then, go back and binge watch all these great episodes, great conversations, great guests, and a lot more right here on my YouTube channel, The Geno Jones Show. Till the next time, be blessed.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.